Good to see you all again. I'm glad to be back with you. Happy to have the chance to pinch hit for Tim while he takes a little time away. Gives me a chance to be back home with you. In addition to John 10:22 and following, I want to read a few more verses from John 10 to piece the text together. So I'm going to read John 10:1 through 5, 11 through 15, and then 22 through 29. Very truly, I tell you, anyone who does not enter the sheepfold by the gate, but climbs in by another way, is a thief and a bandit. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep hear his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he's brought out all his own, he goes ahead of them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. They will not follow a stranger, but they will run from him because they do not know the voice of strangers. I'm the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand, who is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep, sees the wolf coming and leaves the sheep and runs away, and the wolf snatches them and scatters them. The hired hand runs away because a hired hand does not care for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my own, and my own know me, just as the Father knows me, and I know the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. At that time, the festival of the dedication took place in Jerusalem. It was winter, and Jesus was walking in the temple in the portico of Solomon. So the Jews gathered around him and said to him, "How long will you keep us in suspense? If you are the Messiah, tell us plainly." Jesus answered, "I have told you, and you do not believe. The works that I do in my Father's name testify to me, but you do not believe because you do not belong to my sheep. My sheep hear my voice. I know them, and they follow me. I give them eternal life, and they will never perish. No one will snatch them out of my hand. My Father, in regard to what he has given me, is greater than all, and no one can snatch them out of the Father's hand. The Father and I are one." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. In an unforgettable story of James Baldwin's, Baldwin describes a night in a juke joint, a jazz club. It begins this way: the joint, as Fats Waller would have said, was jumping. And during the last set, the saxophone player took off on a terrific solo. He was a kid from some insane place like Jersey City or Syracuse. But somewhere along the line, he had discovered that he could say it with a saxophone. He stood there wide-legged, filling his narrow chest, shivering in the rags of his 20-odd years, and screaming through his horn, "Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me?" And again, "Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me?" The question was terrible and real. The boy was blowing with his lungs and guts out of his own short past. And somewhere in the past, he had received a blow from which he would never recover. And this no one wanted to believe. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? It's not hard to believe, is it, that that young man, wounded as he had been, was playing that question not just to the others in the audience listening to his playing, but asking that question to the place it most needs to go, to the heavens, to God. Do you love me, God? And can you help me find healing for this wound? Henry Nouwen, when he left the Ivy League to teach elsewhere, and then to become a resident in a large community taking care of people who were suffering with mental challenges and disabilities, had some time to think about what he had learned about ministry and what he was still learning about ministry from those who were so different from those he had taught in the Ivy League. Here's part of what Henry Nouwen said. He said, "Many of us in the contemporary church spend our precious energy on issues which do more to distract us from our mission than to deepen our sense of mission. Our contemporary society," he said, "wants to know, is there a God who cares? Are there any signs that history is being guided by a merciful hand? Is life more than what psychologists, sociologists, biologists, and chemists can define? Is there anything to hope for after we have returned to the dust? Is the church prepared to deal with these issues not just on an intellectual level, but on the level of the heart and of daily life? Is there a God who cares? Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? The answer that springs from Psalm 23 and from Jesus' echoing of Psalm 23 in the words we find in the Gospel of John tell us that at the heart of reality, that at the core of everything that is, that the animating energy of all of life is the love of one who is with us as a shepherd to guide us, to protect us, to know us, to call us by name, to love us. Is there a God who cares? Do you love me? The answer comes from Jesus. Yes, there is a God who cares. And we need that assurance as we make our way through bewildering and confusing times, don't we? And I guess in a way for us, all times are confusing and bewildering times, but figuring out how to live a life of wholeness and joy and integrity in a culture like ours seems even more daunting than usual. It's difficult to know where we're going and why. The anthropologist Lauren Isley, when he was living in New York City, would make his way out of the city late at night to go to the suburbs where his home was on a commuter train. And he got on a commuter train late one night, and he was seated not far from a shabbily dressed man whose face was gaunt, whose eyes were vacant, who had a paper bag that showed the top of a bottle in his lap. And the man was either exhausted or intoxicated or both. He drifted in and out of sleep, but soon the conductor came through the train to collect tickets. And the man roused from sleep long enough to say he didn't have a ticket, and the conductor said, "You got to buy a ticket." So he pulled a wad of bills out of his pocket and just said, "Give me a ticket to wherever it is." And a lot of us are paying a price for a ticket to wherever it is because we sometimes, perhaps often, lack the guidance we need to take the path that leads to wholeness and joy and integrity. Are we willing to admit it takes some humility or desperation or both? Maybe they're more closely related than we realize. Are we willing to admit that we, no matter how smart we are, no matter how strong we are, no matter how much we've achieved, we all need someone to lead us, don't we? To show us the way. Left on our own, we can wander like sheep into danger. I mean, after all, we face problems we can't solve. At least I do. There are problems in front of me that I need to deal with, but I can't for the life of me figure out how to solve them on my own. I need help. I need guidance. We have demands. We confront demands. In fact, so many demands that we can't possibly meet them all, can we? I mean, the energy runs out before the list of demands gets satisfied. Where did those demands come from? How many of them would come to us from a tender shepherd? I'm simply saying that we can't make it without the guidance of a shepherd, someone who knows us intimately and loves us infinitely. The Lord is my shepherd. And Jesus said, "I am the good shepherd." And it's important for us not to romanticize shepherds and sheep. You know, quite often we see paintings, don't we, of shepherds in clean robes with a kind of beatific vision on their faces and little fluffy little white lambs as sheep, and paint that on the nursery wall. That's fine, but that's not really how it is with shepherds and sheep. The New Testament scholar Catherine Shaner said this recently: anyone who's seen actual sheep knows that they are rarely, if ever, like the ones you find on the fluffy aisle of a toy store. They're muddy and smelly. They have sticks and gunk in their wool. They have slobbery noses and backsides that have not been properly tended. They attract all manner of annoying insects and parasites. Now, these are real sheep. How do you feel about being a sheep behind the shepherd Jesus now? I find something really remarkably realistic about that. Because I find myself sometimes, don't you, precisely there with gunk stuck in the wool, not being sure exactly where I need to go, muddy and smelly. And Shaner goes on to say, shepherds are right in the muck and bramble mix, yelling commands to the sheep, pushing them in the right direction. And that walking stick, yeah, that's a crook. And it's for hooking a wayward sheep. I'm quite sure the sheep do not like being pulled from their path with a hook around their bellies. I like it that we can be realistic about sheep and shepherds, because I want to be realistic about us and Jesus. He's in it with us. He experiences what we experience. So the shepherd is with us, and the shepherd knows our names and speaks to us in a voice we recognize. I love the way Rachel and the kids illustrated that, didn't you? The kids knew the voice of their mother. The sheep know the voice of their sheep. And that's because the sheep and the shepherd spend enough time with each other so that the sheep can recognize the voice. I am the good shepherd, Jesus said. I know my own, and my own know me. The shepherd calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he's brought out all his own, he goes ahead of them. And the sheep follow him because they know his voice. Jesus is describing something here he had witnessed, something that can be seen to this day in remote parts of Palestine. See, often more than one shepherd kept his sheep in a sheepfold. They would all mix in and sleep together in the same fold, and the shepherds might take turns keeping watch around the pen so that they could rest and keep the sheep safe at the same time. And when morning came, and it was time for the flocks to separate for the day into the pasture lands that their shepherds would lead them to, the shepherds would call out to the sheep that belonged to him, or maybe whistle a tune, or give a little call. My great-grandmother out on the far east side of Huntington just went, woo! And we all knew it was time to come home. Woo! Maybe something like that. The sheep that belonged to the shepherd, because they recognized his voice, came out to follow. I'm concerned that many of us, perhaps many of us, haven't spent enough time, at least lately, with the shepherd to recognize his voice and be able to follow him. I read a profile of the Murdoch family, you know, the Murdoch family that owns Wall Street Journal, Fox News, lots of things. And the profile said that when James Murdoch, one of the boys, was growing up, he lived in an Upper East Side penthouse in New York City. The penthouse had a private elevator and an elevator operator named George, and panoramic views of Central Park. But kids, the author says, want their father, and James's father, Rupert, was busy. And James asked his mother one day, "Is Daddy going deaf?" "No," she replied. "Daddy's just not listening." Now, I can recognize myself in that, can you? Distracted by the things the culture tells us matter. Power, wealth, status, influence, politics. That these things matter more, and they deafen us instead to the voice that can lead us through the thicket, the muck of all those things I just named. Far too many of us go at least temporarily deaf to the voice of Jesus. We listen to the voice of others. Jesus called them thieves and bandits because they steal away from us the life of wholeness, joy, and integrity Jesus wants for us. Anne Lamott said that when she's quiet, she has to be quiet a long time because the first thing she hears when she gets quiet are rap songs of self-loathing. She hears singing in her mind all those things that don't go well, all those mistakes she's made. That's not the voice of Jesus. Glennon Doyle said there are two voices in her head. One jumps up and down, waves its arm, clamors for my attention, and generally annoys the heaven out of me. The voice is fear. For 20 years, I heard only the voice of fear. I believed fear was the truth, she said. I thought fear was my voice. Here's what fear said to me all day, every day. There's not enough for you. Hurry, grab food, grab money, grab attention and fame and validation and praise, and hold on tight. These things might never come your way again. The more for her, the less for you. Get what you can, while you can, hoard it, hide it. Then she said, this voice goes on to say, actually forget it. Take nothing, because you don't deserve anything. And stay away from people. If anyone really knew you, they'd be horrified. There's something very wrong with you, Glennon. Look at your life, your body, your face, humiliating, grotesque. You're beyond repair. You've got nothing to offer. Life has nothing to offer, nothing you deserve. Life is terrible and soul-crushing. You'll not be able to handle it, so stay quiet and hide until the end. She said slowly she began to hear another voice. I love this. It was a voice as tall and deep and wide as a redwood tree. The voice, I understood quickly, was love. I called him Jesus, she said. Here's what that voice said. Stop grabbing, sweetheart. Stop holding your breath. Breathe. There's enough. I've created an abundance of acceptance, attention, recognition, joy, peace, energy, money, clothes, food, and I will never leave you without enough. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. And there is nothing to be afraid of. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. When you were born, the voice said, I put a piece of myself in you, like an indestructible, brilliant diamond. It's love. It's perfect. No one can take it from you, and you can't rid yourself of it. It's the deepest part of who you are. Which voice are we listening to? The voice that knows us, is with us, loves us, wants to take us from where we are to where God means us to be? Is that the voice? I pray so. Because the chattering voices of the thieves and bandits want nothing more than to lead us away from life as God means it to be. So when we ask God, do you care? Do you love me? God's answer is to go to the cross for us in the person of Jesus. And there to join us in our guilt and our shame and our pain, and to absorb all that evil. In Jesus' great heart of love, everything that breaks us is broken. And evermore, the Good Shepherd who is with us feeds us with mercy and grace and love. And even when we find ourselves in the wilderness, there's a table spread before us in the presence of our enemies. Just one more thing, and I'll be done. A writer named K.J. Ramsey pointed out to me, I'd never noticed this before, that Psalm 23 is 55 words in Hebrew. There are exactly 26 words before the phrase, "For you are with me," and 26 words after, "For you are with me." "For you are with me" is the heart of the song. You are with me. You probably know that in ancient Near Eastern Bedouin culture, that the shepherd's tent in the wilderness was one of the safest places on earth. Because of the Bedouin laws of hospitality, even if you were being chased by an enemy, once you were inside a Bedouin chieftain's tent, you were safe. The enemy could not intrude. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You are with me. Nothing can separate us. Not the clamoring from the outside. Not the criticism from the inside. You are with me. You are with me. Thank God. He is with us. Amen.